3. Coin 1. 1955 Roosevelt Dime with no mint. Mark. Potential value scenario. $70,000. Is this the final treasure? Now, Coinmaster USA viewers, we've reached the moment we've all been waiting for. This is coin number 3. The final coin in today's incredible journey through some of the most fascinating and potentially valuable American coins. And if you've been following this video from the very beginning, you already know that we've explored 2 fascinating Roosevelt dimes. But now, we're looking at a 1962 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark, described as having a dark, old appearance. And according to today's video premise, we're placing a potential value scenario of $70,000 on an exceptionally rare example. Yes? You heard that correctly. $70,000. For a dime. A coin with a face value of just 10 cents. But before you run to your collection and start celebrating, there's something incredibly important you need to know. A normal 1962 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark is not automatically worth $70,000. In fact, no mint mark is normal for the Philadelphia minted 1962 Roosevelt dime. So why are we talking about a potential value of $70,000? Because in the world of rare coins, the difference between an ordinary coin and an extraordinary coin can come down to something much more important than the date or mint mark. It could be an unusual error. It could be a rare variety. It could be an extraordinary minting mistake. It could be an unusual composition. Or it could be another characteristic that makes the coin genuinely rare and highly desirable to serious collectors. And that's what we're going to investigate today. So don't leave. Don't skip ahead. Because the final coin in our top 3 journey could teach you one of the most important lessons in the entire world of coin collecting. Sometimes, the rarest-looking coin isn't necessarily the rarest coin, and sometimes, the most valuable detail is the one you almost didn't notice. Welcome back to Coinmaster USA. Let's uncover the mystery of the 1962 Roosevelt dime. Imagine you're going through an old collection. Maybe it's your grandfather's collection. Maybe it's your father's. Maybe it's a box you discovered while cleaning out an attic. Or perhaps it's something you've owned for years. Inside that collection are dozens of old American coins. You start sorting them, one by one. You see pennies, nickels, quarters, and then a dime catches your attention. You pick it up. You turn it toward the light. You look at the date. 1962. You turn the coin over. You examine the mint mark area. Nothing. No mint mark. At first you think, okay, it's an old dime. But then you remember something. 1962. A year when U.S. dimes were still made from silver. A year that belongs to the final era of traditional silver Roosevelt dimes before the major composition change that began in 1965. Suddenly, this coin doesn't feel quite as ordinary. And then you notice something else. The coin has a dark, old appearance. Maybe there are blackened areas. Maybe there is toning. Maybe there are spots. Maybe the surface looks different from the modern dimes you see every day. And now the question becomes, is this simply an old silver dime? Or could there be something else hiding beneath the surface? That's where the real investigation begins. To understand this coin, we need to understand the time period. The Roosevelt dime was introduced in 1946. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. And throughout the late 1940s, 1950s, and early 1960s, these dimes were struck in a silver composition. The 1962 Roosevelt dime belongs to this era. According to NGC's coin information, the 1962 Philadelphia Roosevelt dime had a mintage of 72,450 pounds. Zero was made of 90% silver and weighs 2.5 grams. That means every 1962 dime you find isn't automatically rare. In fact, many were produced. But here's where things get interesting. The coin is old enough to contain precious metal. It represents an important period in American coin history. And it comes from a time when the U.S. Mint was producing enormous quantities of silver coinage. That's why collectors don't stop at the date. They start looking deeper. They ask, is the coin in exceptional condition? Does it have a rare variety? Does it have a genuine minting error? Is the composition correct? Is the coin authentic? And is there something about this particular example that makes it different from the millions of others? Those questions are what separate a common collectible from a potentially extraordinary discovery. Now let's talk about the detail that catches the attention of many people. No mint mark. At first glance, that might seem unusual. But here's the truth. For the 1962 Philadelphia Roosevelt dime, no mint mark is normal. That's extremely important. You should not look at a 1962 dime with no mint mark and automatically assume you have a rare error. The absence of a mint mark is expected for this Philadelphia issue. So if you're searching your collection, remember this. The no mint mark feature alone does not make the coin worth $70,000. The potential value scenario we're discussing today would have to come from something exceptional about the individual coin. Maybe an unusual mint error. Maybe a rare variety. Maybe an unusual composition. Maybe a unique production mistake. Or another characteristic recognized by experts and collectors. This is why knowledge is so important. Because the internet can sometimes make a simple coin sound like $1 million treasure. But real coin collecting is more complicated. The date matters. The mint matters. The condition matters. The variety matters. The error matters. The authentication matters. And most importantly, the actual market demand matters. What does the dark old appearance mean? Now let's discuss the appearance of this particular coin. It's described as dark, old, and showing signs of age. Maybe the surface is blackened. Maybe the coin has developed toning. Maybe it has been exposed to the environment. But here's something you need to understand. A dark coin is not automatically a rare coin. A black coin is not automatically a valuable coin. And an old-looking coin is not automatically worth thousands of dollars. Sometimes dark surfaces are simply the result of environmental exposure. Sometimes they are caused by storage conditions. Sometimes they are the result of natural toning. And sometimes they can be caused by damage. The important thing is understanding what you're actually looking at. Natural toning can sometimes be attractive to collectors. But corrosion, harsh cleaning, or environmental damage can reduce desirability. That's why you should never take a potentially valuable coin and try to make it look better. Don't scrub it. Don't polish it. Don't use chemicals. Don't use toothpaste. Don't scratch the surface. If you think you may have something valuable, leave it alone. Preserve it. Protect it. And have it evaluated properly. Because once you alter the surface of a coin, you may permanently change its collectible value. Now let's talk about the number everyone wants to hear. $70,000. Imagine discovering a coin with a face value of 10 cents and finding out that an exceptionally rare example could potentially be worth tens of thousands of dollars. That would be unbelievable. But again, let's be realistic. A normal 1962 Roosevelt Dime with no mint mark is not a $70,000 coin. NGC's current guide shows ordinary circulated examples in the low single-digit dollar range, with substantially higher values reserved for pristine, high-grade examples. That reinforces how unusual a six-figure or five-figure claim would be without a major rarity or error. So where could the $70,000 figure come from? The answer would have to involve something truly extraordinary. Something that transforms the coin from an ordinary 1962 Roosevelt Dime into an exceptional numismatic discovery. And that is the mystery we're exploring. Because when you see a huge value attached to an old coin, the first question shouldn't be, how much is it worth? The first question should be, why is it worth that much? That's the question every serious collector asks. The search for something extraordinary. Now imagine you have the coin in front of you. You have your magnifying glass. You have good lighting. And you begin your inspection. First, you look at the date. 1962. Everything appears normal. Then you examine the mint mark area. No mint mark. Again, that's normal for Philadelphia. So you keep looking. You examine the lettering. You look at the portrait. You inspect the rim. You study the reverse. You look at the edge. You compare the coin with another 1962 Roosevelt Dime. And suddenly, you notice something. Something doesn't look quite right. Maybe there's unusual doubling. Maybe the rim appears abnormal. Maybe the metal looks different. Maybe the coin's weight doesn't match expectations. Maybe there is a feature that appears to have been created during the minting process. Now, that's when your investigation becomes serious. Because the difference between damage and a genuine mint error is incredibly important. A scratch created after the coin left the mint is damage. A dent caused by another coin is damage. A stain is not automatically an error, but a genuine minting error can be something completely different. That's why authentication matters. Here's one of the biggest traps that new collectors fall into. They see a strange-looking coin. They search the internet. They find a picture of a rare coin. And suddenly they believe they have found the same thing. But that's dangerous. A coin can look similar without being the same. A damaged coin can look like an error. A stain can look like unusual toning. Machine doubling can be confused with a doubled die. A scratch can be mistaken for a die crack. And a normal no-mint mark coin can be incorrectly labeled as a rare missing mint mark error. This is why professional evaluation is so important. If your coin is potentially worth $70,000, you should not rely on a random online comment. You should seek expert opinions. You should compare your coin with trusted references. And if appropriate, consider professional authentication and grading. The more valuable the coin, the more important verification becomes. Why silver makes this coin special? Now there's another reason. The 1962 Roosevelt Dime is historically fascinating. Silver. Before the 1965 change in U.S. circulating coin composition, Roosevelt Dimes were made with 90% silver. That gives these coins an intrinsic precious metal component, in addition to their collectible interest. But here's another important distinction. Silver value and collectible value are not the same thing. A common silver dime can have value based on its silver content. A collectible dime can have additional value based on condition, rarity, and demand. And a truly exceptional error coin can potentially have a much higher numismatic value. So when you find an old silver Roosevelt dime, don't automatically assume it's worth tens of thousands. But don't ignore it either. It's worth examining. It's worth preserving. And if something about it looks unusual, it's worth investigating. Because the coin's metal is only one part of the story. Imagine finding this coin for 10 cents. Let's imagine something. You're at a store. You receive change. You get a dime. You almost drop it into your pocket. But you look at it. You see the date, 1962. You flip it over. No mint mark. You might think, that's interesting. But then you examine the coin more closely. The surface looks old, dark, different. You compare it with another dime. Something seems unusual. Now imagine taking that coin to an expert. Imagine hearing, "This is not an ordinary example." Imagine the shock, the excitement, the disbelief. And then imagine discovering that the coin could potentially be worth a significant amount of money. That's the dream that keeps coin collectors searching. But remember, the dream is exciting. The verification is essential. How to check your 1962 Roosevelt dime. If you have a 1962 Roosevelt dime, here's what you should do. Start with the basics. Look at the date. Confirm that it's actually 1962. Next, examine the mint mark area. Remember that a missing mint mark is normal for the Philadelphia issue. Then inspect the coin's overall condition. Look at the details. Are Roosevelt's features clearly visible? How much wear does the coin show? Are the letters sharp? Is the rim intact? Are there scratches? Are there signs of cleaning? Next, inspect the edge. The edge can provide useful information about the coin's composition and condition. Then consider the weight. A standard 1962 Roosevelt dime weighs 2.5 grams, according to NGC's specifications. If your coin's weight is significantly different, that could be a reason to investigate further. But remember, a scale alone does not prove an error. You need to consider all the evidence. And if something truly unusual appears, that's when professional evaluation becomes important. Our coin is described as being in an old condition. But what does that really mean? In numismatics, collectors don't simply say, old-looking equals valuable. Instead, they evaluate the coin's actual grade. How much wear is present? Are the details sharp? Are the surfaces damaged? Has the coin been cleaned? Are there scratches? Are there marks? Has the coin been exposed to harsh conditions? All of these things can influence value. A coin that looks dark and old may have significant historical charm. But if it has severe environmental damage, that can reduce its collector value. On the other hand, a coin with attractive natural toning and strong preservation may appeal to collectors. That's why appearance must be evaluated carefully. And that's why professional grading can be so important when dealing with potentially valuable coins. Here's the secret. The coin doesn't have to look impressive to be interesting. Sometimes the most valuable discovery is the coin everyone else ignored. A coin sitting at the bottom of an old jar. A coin stored inside a forgotten envelope. A coin passed down through a family. A coin that someone almost spent. And sometimes, it's the coin that looks ordinary. That's why you should examine your coins carefully. Not because every coin is rare, but because you never know when you'll discover something unusual. The goal isn't to believe every coin is worth $70,000. The goal is to learn enough to recognize the coins that deserve a closer look. So here we are, our final coin. The 1962 Roosevelt Dime with no mint mark, described as having a dark, old appearance. And the potential value scenario we're highlighting today? $70,000. But remember the most important part of this entire video. A normal 1962 Roosevelt Dime with no mint mark is not automatically worth $70,000. The no mint mark feature is normal for the Philadelphia issue. So if you own one, don't panic. Don't immediately sell it. Don't immediately believe a huge price claim. Instead, investigate. Look for what makes your coin different. Look for genuine errors. Look for recognized varieties. Look for unusual characteristics. Check the condition. Check the composition. And if you believe you've found something truly extraordinary, get it authenticated. Because the real value isn't created by a headline. It's created by rarity, authenticity, condition, and genuine collector demand. The final lesson from Coin Master USA. And now, Coin Master USA viewers, let's look back at our entire journey. Coin number 1. The 1979 Roosevelt Dime with no mint mark, presented with a potential value scenario of $10,000 for an exceptionally rare example. Coin number 2. The 1965 Roosevelt Dime, a fascinating coin from a major transition period in American coinage, presented with a potential value scenario of $110,000 for an exceptionally rare and authenticated example. And now, coin number 3. The 1962 Roosevelt Dime, with no mint mark, presented with a potential value scenario of $70,000 for an exceptionally rare example with an extraordinary characteristic. 3 coins, 3 stories, 3 reasons to look more carefully at the coins around you. But here's the truth. The real treasure isn't simply the dollar value. It's the history. It's the mystery. It's the investigation. It's the moment when you find something unusual and realize, wait a minute, this isn't like the others. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. So here's my challenge to you. Tonight, go through your old coin jar. Check your drawers. Look through those forgotten collections. Ask your family members if they have old coins stored away. And when you find an old dime, don't immediately throw it back into the jar.